All right, AFA Today from New York. Glad you're with us. Kevin McCullough, glad to be with you. 888-589-8840. Again, if you're just joining us, John Kerry said this yesterday on MS or Messed Up NBC.
Assad will have a message that he can use these weapons with impunity. We will have turned our back on the next batch of children, on the next batch of parents. We will have turned our back on the international norm. We will have lost credibility in the world. And I guarantee you, if we turn our backs today, the picture we all saw in the paper today and the media of those people being shot, that will take place more because more extremists will be attracted to this because they will be funded as the only alternative in order to take on Assad.
All right, more terrorists will be recruited by Al Qaeda to fight Assad because we didn't kill Assad. So the terrorists are going to grow in number if we don't kill Assad. But if we kill Assad, then the terrorists are the only ones standing. 888-589-8840. I don't claim to be, rocket scientist or anything. That doesn't make sense to me. Donna in Arkansas, you're up first on AFA Today on the Friday edition. Welcome.
Hello. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for letting me. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller.
Appreciate that.
Syria stuff is driving me crazy. This morning on mainstream media, on CBS to be exact, they had a correspondent that was over in Syria, and she was interviewing a gentleman that apparently is the guard for this big, humongous warehouse. And the warehouse was empty. And she asked the man, what is going to be in this warehouse? And he said, well, it will be ammunition and arms once we receive them from the United States. He said, I don't know what the holdup is. The United States needs to hurry up and give us our guns so we can fight in the war. And I was like, really? The USA is going to supply them arms and ammunition? I mean, where did we get off sending these people so that they can fight each other, and then we're supposed to be the referee? I don't understand. I just have to pray to understand this mess.
We need. That's the one thing that we've got to be doing, Donna. Thank you for the call. We've got to be praying. We've got to be begging God to intervene, not just for the welfare of our country, but in the conflict in general. God is not. He's not indifferent to these circumstances, and we need to be seeking Him every day, diligently. George in Missouri, you're up next on AFA Today. Hi.
Hey, Kevin. Thank you for what you're doing. It's George.
Thank you.
How's your son doing?
He's doing well. I appreciate you praying for him.
Great. Hey, it's just like I've always said, our president, he's on the other side. He's the traitor. And they haven't, I've always said that. He's not fighting for us. He wants the other team to win. And then he talked, I guess he talks to all these people in the Senate and Kerry, and they talk it all into it, make it look like a good game. But the underlying thing is that what can he do if he starts a war? Isn't there certain controls that he can take over once the game's started?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, George.
I mean, like martial law. He can't. I think he's going after a higher purpose. He's doing something really. He's helping the other team. That's all I got to say.
All right. Thanks for the call. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to declare martial law, and I don't know about any of that. I don't see any proof of that. I don't have any issue along those lines just yet. I do know this though: when the New York Times prints stuff and it causes the administration to be uncomfortable, that's a really bad sign, because you don't get more pro this administration than the New York Times, and they offered a profile of one of the groups in Syria that illustrate kind of the problem of why maybe we shouldn't choose sides in this fight. let me just read some of the highlighted portions of this. At first, people who know Mr. Daryl Issa or Mr. Issa said he was a protester. Then he led fighters into small skirmishes, but by last year he was running a training camp in the highlands near Turkey. Mr. Issa is a freedom fighter in Syria. By this year, the aide said he was gathering weapons from relatives and Arab businessmen he knew from his work as a trader, at least once from the Western-supported Supreme Military Council of the Free Syrian Army, the rebel forces. 2 reps of the military council declined to comment on the council's military collaboration or logistical support for Mr. Issa's group. He could not be reached for comment over 2 days of the week that the New York Times put this together. But by the spring, his group had taken a resonant name, Jund al-Sham, which it shares with 3 international terrorist groups and another group in Syria. Its relationship, if any, with these other groups is not clear. But ISIS's former aide and 2 other men who have met or investigated him said he appears to assume identities of convenience. They said one of his tactics has been to promise his fighters what he calls the extermination of the Alawites, the minority Islamic sect to which the Assad family belongs, and which Mr. Issa blames for Syria's suffering. The uncle is how this person is known. And his group released a celebratory video last week with the execution of 7 prisoners they had captured, along with the uncle's poem pledging revenge on all Alawites. That's one of the leaders of the rebels that we don't know. We don't know if he's a terrorist. We don't know if he's a freedom fighter. We don't know what he is. And he takes on these identities and these names, and he names these groups the same thing as other terrorist groups are named. And we have no real clear understanding of who these people are. That's the dilemma of now getting into the Syrian conflict. And every one of these people say, the sky is falling, we've got to drop these bombs. I have not been told yet. I have not heard from Bill Kristol or Peggy Noonan or Hugh Hewitt or any of these other people that are pushing this from the right. I've not heard any of these people explain how we walk away with a more secure, a better America to reinforce our virtues, values, freedoms, etc. If we drop bombs on them. And everybody is saying this is that we're supposed to vote yes. Bill Kristol had an article in which he basically said if you're a statesmanship requires that you vote yes on Syria. Friends, what I am reading is that they have about 300 no votes in Congress already. That's well more than necessary to just to kill this thing. It'll never even make it to the Senate. It won't be important. The question will be if the president decides to attack anyway, and that's where we're still unclear. There's some thought that he may announce on Tuesday night that he's going to give Syria a 45-day ultimatum, and then take action. I don't know. This is just an absolute mess. And his own advisors are saying that if Congress votes no, he's not going to attack. But Secretary Kerry and a wide cadre of people from the left and the right are saying we've got to go drop these bombs. I don't understand it. Doesn't make sense to me. I think that right now what's happening there is very unfortunate, but you have bad guys killing bad guys. I don't see where us stepping into that mix helps our allies, be they Jordan, Israel, or Turkey in the area. I don't see where it helps us. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm still waiting for an explanation. Take a couple of your calls before we get to our next break. Let's talk to Philip in Texas. Hi, Philip. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today.
Hi, Kevin. Great show. Wow,
Thank
where
you.
do you start? You know, when I was back in the 70s, when Russia invaded Afghanistan, we got a pretty wide range of mix about what we should be doing there, too. And at the end of the day, the moderates was bin Laden that we were training then. And where did that get us at the end of the day? I don't see who is a kind moderate currently in Syria. They're all very hateful bunch of people. And I think whoever we help or assist at the end of the day is going to end up backfiring on us anyway. So I'm one of those that is definitely against intervention in Syria. It will only weaken Israel and some other interests in the Middle East. We have no business being there. And the greatest thing that I'm thinking constantly is why, who, and why are we even thinking this at this point? I mean, what is it in it for the United States of America? And I just don't see it.
That's what I am still waiting on an explanation for, Philip, and I haven't heard one. And here's the interesting thing, and thank you for the call. If you go to the front page of Drudge today, you see that Tehran is planning an attack on a U.S. embassy in Baghdad as retaliation. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that. The attacks on Christians are continuing throughout the region. You've got the Ayatollah Khomeini in Iran saying that America will certainly suffer loss. Hezbollah will be unleashed. And someone's making threats against the president's daughter, saying that they will rape her. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's far too many Secret Service around them at all times to even worry about that. But the point being that there's obviously very strong opinions about this from both our allies and our enemies, and Iran has said they're going to bomb Israel if we bomb Syria. I don't. It's like we're waiting to set off World War III or something, and I just don't think we're ready for that. Not that you're ever ready for war when it comes. That's true. I understand that. Let's go to Benjamin, who's also calling us from Texas. Ben, welcome. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today. Hi.
Hello, Kevin.
Hi.
Kevin, I've been watching this country go down the tubes the last 50 years, since 1962, actually, in big ways. Christian prayer thrown out of our public schools. Our public schools are nothing but dens of iniquity. At this point in time, 50 years later, baby murder in 1973 passed on us, and 60 million babies murdered in the womb. By the way, our president voted 3 times to allow that to continue, and he's worried about 1,400 Muslims over there.
Well, let me just correct you, but only mildly, Ben. He didn't vote for keeping abortion legal 3 times. He voted to allow babies that had survived the womb to die after birth. So that it's a little more even sinister than what you had said. But yes, he voted in favor of that 4 times.
And look how he's come out on behalf of the homosexual population in America since he's been in the White House. And all of those are strong, very strong abominations to God for him to take stands on. I think our country's going to be judged in World War III.
Well, it looks like we may be on the lip of it if the president decides to launch attacks, despite everybody saying that this is a bad idea. Let's go to Luke in North Carolina. Hey, Luke, you're up next on AFA Today with Kevin McCullough. Glad you're here.
Hey, how you doing? I had 2 comments. The first one went back to a couple of days ago. You were talking about asking people, if Congress approved us going into Syria, would President Obama go ahead and do it, or would he honor their decision? And in my opinion, that we're most likely, obviously don't know because I'm not the strategist in the military, but more than likely we already have troops there, and more than likely they're going to be our special operations troops. And I actually heard on the radio on this station a couple of days ago that special forces troops had actually moved from Jordan, not the troops themselves, but they had trained Jordanian troops or troops in Jordan to go into Syria. So it's very likely that's been going on probably before we even heard about this war a year ago, and that's already been happening. And or we actually have our own troops in there right now, or if they're not, say special forces, they're CIA or something like that. I'd be very surprised if that wasn't going on. And then also, a previous caller, she was surprised at the fact that that we were selling weapons or that we're going to give weapons. I don't know what's going to happen with that. It's in Syria, but I don't know. It doesn't really surprise me that we're doing that because we've kind of been doing that for a long time in other countries. So it would make sense that, considering the route that the strategy that we're taking right now, it makes sense. It makes logical sense for us to go ahead and be doing that, sending weapons. So those are the 2 comments I had.
There's a lot of speculation, even that there's a good possibility, Luke, that the attacks on Benghazi had to do with some degree of covering up the fact that we were moving weapons to the Syrian rebels. And I don't know. You know, we're on the cusp of that 1-year anniversary. It's just you know, we'll be 12 years in since 9/11, the original 9/11. We'll be 1 year in since Benghazi. And here we are talking about dropping bombs on people that don't have really anything to do with us. You shrugged your shoulder, Mr. President, when Assad was bombing and bulleting people to death, but the claim that he unleashed a chemical attack, when we have documented evidence that the terrorists that are now wholesale in charge of the rebellion effort have been launching attacks, chemical attacks, since March. And these attacks have happened again and again. We haven't said anything. Why all of a sudden, right now, just after Labor Day, just before 9/11, just before the 1-year observance of Benghazi, why right now are we arguing about dropping bombs? It's very telling, I think, in many ways. Kevin McCullough, glad you're with us. More of your calls next, plus an update in San Antonio, Texas that we'll get to before we're done. Don't go away. It's the Friday edition of AFA Today.